Welcome to Sahaja Collective podcast. We are Kirsten
and Devdas.
And today we have a very special edition of our podcast. It is a podcast about our most recent in-person immersion in Portugal, Moving in Grace. And this will be a conversation about the experience of the retreat. And I'm very excited to have people with us to share their experience. We have Benita from South Africa. Benita is very new to our work. She has a yoga background, but didn't meet the Sahaja Collective yet. We do have Tanti here with us from UK. Tanti did her 200-hour course with us, her 300-hour course, and is teaching in the UK. And we do have Hardas with us from the US. He also did his 200 and 300-hour course with us, teaching yoga, and is for the last 2 years in a very close relationship of mentorship with Devdas. So I'm very excited to hear your experiences, your voices about moving in grace. I'd like to hop first into grace. What is grace? What does moving in grace mean to you? Who feels to go first to share about grace?
This is where everyone gets shy.
I'll jump in.
Yay!
Thank you for the opportunity to be on this and to share. It's really beautiful to see your faces again and your faces. I miss you all so much, even though we finished only just 10 days ago, I think. Grace, and what I came to understand and learn about grace after the retreat and subsequently now being back home, is how one engages with the smallest and every minuscule part of the world and of life and of every object around you, around me. So that's how I feel so much. For me, grace was about connecting, and here connecting with things so much more consciously and taking time to really see things and notice things versus the crazy rush and distraction of usual everyday life. So that's really, it's that moment of pause, that moment of taking that breath and of landing and being without the freneticism. It's extraordinary.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Kirsten, we had so many beautiful explorations of grace on our retreat, and it's such a massive word. I can't hear the word, unfortunately, without always going back to being a little girl. Grace is a little girl with a dirty face, like it just into that little rhyme. And then there's a virtue. Virtue is a grace. Grace is a little girl with a dirty face. And for me, even that helps me because of the immensity of this word. And so for many people on the retreat, it was exactly your choice of title, Moving in Grace, which is what brought them to you. I think that even that speaks to the immensity of this word, what it means. And I'm in a trap here because I want to recall what was said on retreat by some beautiful people. But I'm just going to say, for me, like what Benita shares, grace is God. Grace is the vibration of God, of all that is inside me, around me, between us, as us. outside of us, a river of grace. And when we jump in it, when we can surrender to it, then we are part of the effortless flow of life. We're never really out of it, but here we sometimes are, and then things feel foreign. But it is that, it's the immensity of the blessing of that life experience.
Wow. Very, very, very beautiful, Tandy. I love it. When you were saying this thing about Grace, Grace is the girl with the dirty face, I was feeling like that's Kali. Like that's the the dark form of the Divine Mother, like no beginning, no end. And in a weird way, and I feel like it's worth maybe mentioning in the just right off in the field talking about grace. It's like people always think that grace is roses, but it's like sometimes grace is scary, right? It's the darkness that has no end. But that's also where the magic begins. Right? That's also the beauty of the unfolding of grace. It's step by step, larger and larger until whatever barrier you used to believe in between you and the expression and intelligence of life is just not there. Oh, this is very beautiful. Thank you. Haridas.
To me, grace is absolutely being and knowing that you're divinely cared for. Um, I resonate very much with the idea that grace is this God presence or a universe-like presence that's got this divine intelligence that is just guiding and moving us through whatever it is. And to me, moving in grace is surrendering into that and trusting it and leaning in. And whether it's good, bad, ugly, something in between, or completely beyond that, like it is just fully knowing that what is here for the betterment of myself and those around me. And that's what the retreat, I feel, is for me and was an experience of.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Mm.
This is what I would love to dive into next with you guys. What was your experience of moving in grace about at the retreat? Like what was your seeing? What was your takeaway from this week of moving in grace?
I can start us off. I feel in my heart that being at the retreat was an opportunity to see where my conditioning was limiting my present experiences in a very direct, experiential way. What I mean by that is that I sort of saw, like this past version of myself coming forward in spaces where those threats weren't there, but I was still protecting and trying to preserve this narrative of history. And the beauty in all of it was that I was able to see it. I definitely felt it too. But I also saw it and was able to, in community, move through that, both with our Sangha and also with Devdas and our one-on-one opportunity to connect. But in private moments and communal moments, there was just this blessing of being fully supported as I was moving through and confronting that and redefining that conditioning and moving beyond it and transcending it, like having this opportunity to remake for me the name of like what is family and how that term can become something more beautiful and more powerful than it might have been in my past experiences.
Wow. Wow. Many, many, many different layers of beauty in this sharing. But one is this thing of family. Like someone who was on the retreat wrote me a message after the retreat and said, now that I'm part of the Sahaja family, I connect better to my family than before. Mm. And I was so touched. It's like, yoga should just bring you more fully into your life. And I love the sharing also about, okay, I'm in a place where this conditioning doesn't need to be here, but it's still here. And it's like, okay, I don't need that. Like I can refresh, I can reboot, I can see how grace can move in a new way. It's wow.
I find it also very interesting that you speak about this conditioning. It was even for me as a facilitator, like a lot of seeing of seeds of karma came up during the retreat and after the retreat, like that. Some things like became just extremely visible and clear that are on the way out. Basically clearly seen that they do not belong to my current version anymore, for no better words of it. Yeah, very interesting that I had a similar experience. Beautiful.
I went joined the retreat with this idea of, being able to renew, refresh, relax. But my biggest takeaway and my biggest experience was the amount and the enormity of the love that I felt, and how my heart I felt like it ripped open, and how I was able to receive love and feel love and give love. And that for me has been incredibly, incredibly powerful, because it was just something that I think I realized on one of the days when we were there, that it's something that I've blocked, and I've sort of layered and built a wall. And how being on the retreat and witnessing this extraordinary space, and this energy and this connection between everybody, but just the amount of love from you and the amount of love shared between all of us was so powerful that there is no, I mean, it tore down every barrier within my that I'd put up. Just amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful, Benita. That is tearing down barriers. I felt that also quite strongly after the retreat, in a way that synchronicity appeared much more often. Like I would need something and it would just appear, like it would just fall in my hand exactly what I need, and no, I do not have. And strangers would just give me what I need. And I was like, whoa, like it's a barrier that comes from inside, that this is not flowing all the time. Inside, I mean personality, like when we kind of separate or come into the state of isolation, we're not open to that actually everything around flows and is given. And I felt also this removing of this personal barrier, and therefore kind of grace could just move.
Yes, and I love that sharing. I love that sharing. It makes me feel like I want to giggle, because that was my experience on retreat. Two instances, one with Haridas. Normally, if I was on my own, I would go, "Ah, yes, you see, Tundi, it always has to be about you. Look at you making up stories again." But there were two instances. There were instances of exactly that, where I was going, "You're kidding me. That could not just have really happened." Like something that cannot have happened, and yet it literally happened. And it didn't just happen once, it happened twice. Literally feeling like you are being cocooned. What was moving in Grace Retreat? Feeling like you are being cocooned, incubated in this privilege. Let's acknowledge the immense privilege for people to be able to step outside of their lives of responsibility of everyday responsibility, paying the money, taking the time, going away from things that hold them. But what we stepped into was this cocoon space of what's being shared here time and time again, the ability to transmutate, to evolve rapidly, effortlessly, safely, to go through that metamorphosis and realize that the carapace around us that is not necessary, that we can just be ripped open and that we are seen and held as that, and that we are all co-creating that reality. That is the finest expression of grace and the most beautiful opportunity to practice it. Yeah.
Wow. Tandi, Tandi kind of helped us organizing and with many details, and also with just people and with everything. And I feel like your words are double in my heart for that reason. It's like so many times just watching your service, it was like, wow, like just grace is just moving. And you know, all these things which could be so complicated, and oh, is this the right, and is that right, and is this in the right place, and blah 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 blah, and it's just happening. Like grace is moving. Yeah, beautiful.
I'd like to dive into the next question about what was your strongest experience in the retreat? Like, what was your highlight experience of the retreat, of the 7 days?
Do you get to tell us too?
Of course.
I'm not. I'll tell you a funny story at the end. Yeah, but you have to tell first. Okay, so but first you guys. Tommy's like, no way. Get to the good stuff.
We start something.
Okay, but you have to start. That was the agreement.
Whose agreement?
Okay, I'll start. So this is the difficulty with Dave does, and some people like it and some people don't. Once I was in Satsang with Gyananda, my teacher in India, and he looked at me and he said, "What was your favorite part of the Satsang?" And I just completely froze. I was just like, kind of didn't know what to say. And then he gets this huge kind of childlike grin on his face, and he goes, "He can't say because his favorite part is every part." And every single person in the room burst into laughter. And you know, I was just sitting there like, I don't even really know what that means. But there was something true about it. It's like, and I definitely felt, well, that's one answer. And then there's a second answer actually, which was touched on in many of the previous sharings, which is, and Kirsten mentioned it also, I feel like the depth of experience between the people on the retreat we've never had before. Like never in anything, not in yoga teacher trainings, not in other retreats. Like nothing we've done brought together like a Sangha in the way that this Sangha was present together. And to me, like touching isn't even the right word. It's just like unforgettably, powerfully beautiful. It really is almost like a window into oneness, right? It's like everybody's moving in one field, and it's like it's so supportive and so full of love, like Benita shared. that it's just like feels like it's one thing. And that to me was, that stayed with me in my heart.
I think I didn't reflect about my favorite moment, but as we ask you, so I think it's also up to me to reflect on it. I feel what really was for me one of the most beautiful experiences was our last bhajans, Shri Radhe, the last song that we sang. I felt everybody was giving themselves so fully in their devotion, and everybody was a little different, but we became so intensely one in that singing. I feel that was for me the strongest manifestation of our togetherness, actually.
Wow.
So,
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That just reminds me so much of, I mean, I was sharing at the end of that bhajans, like there was times in that bhajans where I just couldn't sing because I was crying. It's just like so beautiful, the togetherness and the feeling. It was just like, okay, no need to sing, just sit back and enjoy.
Yes, and I so love that you have brought up that bhajan, because I love that so much. And then I was sitting in my head going, can I say it? And I'm like, yes, you can, because bhakti is a completely legitimate form of yoga, path of yoga, and the fastest and the smoothest and the most beautiful. And I can hear little Serena, is she
Yeah,
with you?
yeah, Tommy knows.
I know, I can hear. I want to see that little face. I'm like, is she going to pop up? There she is. Hey, Serena.
Serena, by the
We're
way,
just talking bhajans.
yeah, and Serena was also a retreat participant, right? Well, I don't
Absolutely.
know if she
I'd
was
love to hear her favorite part.
teacher or participant, hard to say.
She was.
She fulfilled some beautiful function in the adventure.
She fulfilled many beautiful functions on that retreat, and it would not have been the same without her. But I love that you shared that bhajan. And for me, the previous bhajan, there was a moment there where that's where I dropped into that sense that, because it's not a sound, it's it's a feeling of, and more than a feeling, it's a sense, it's a felt experience sense that for me in those two, I was going, whoa, I'm not really present. Where am I? And again, into this thing of going, who am I? What am I? Where does my experience end and your experience begin? And very, very much engaging in the shared experience of that living moment. Because in the bhajan, it is alive, it is ever changing. And at a point, I love that you say it was different, because I was singing and then I was quiet and I was stopped because I just wanted to hear it. And to be quiet inside, Devdasti, I can't blame you for just being quiet and weeping and not wanting to sing, because taking the own vibration that's coming from inside the body away from it made it so exquisitely beautiful. I could not believe the diversity and the complexity and the subtlety of sound in my own silence. It blew me away. It blew me away. And it lives inside. It's still alive, exactly as you say, Kirsten. But yeah, so I also want to put my hands together because I just want to honor it, because it's a living memory. And like I said, 2 days, the bhakti for me, the bhajans for me on your retreat was exquisite. I mean, anyone who was there with me knows that well, I was all kind of, but it was so fabulously fabulous. It was so extraordinary. But to choose a favorite part would be it feels almost like cheating. It's like you can't. We had the most nutritious, delicious, diverse food prepared lovingly by people in a kitchen just there to serve us and nourish us. We had access to the two of you and to Serena to your family, to your personal time, but access to ask you questions, access to see you in your own moving in and through grace and with grace, bringing so much. For me, you know, I mentioned this in a sharing circle, like last sharing circle. For me, the contemplation was very much around family, this convergence of family and what that means. And like was shared here, it's that was so beautiful, and an after effect, and also I feel like an unexpected, something that you can't plan for. You can do all the right things and tick all the right boxes, and you can bring all of yourself, but you don't know that something is just going to bloom and blossom. And that's what it felt like for me. That so from the immensity, the wonder of like having the privilege to do 2 hour yoga in the morning, to a yin in the afternoon, pranayama, meditation, bhakti, food, togetherness, there was just this sense of effortless blossoming, just an unfolding into simplicity and into tenderness, transparency. I think that has to be my favorite part.
Yeah, I felt also very much the moment I stepped onto the land, like we arrived. I said immediately to Divdas, I think we arrived in the place we are meant to be, and we are here to do what we are meant to be doing. And I mostly wear shoes in Asia, but it was like from the beginning, it was I take my shoes off here. Like I can be fully on the land, like I'm here. And yeah, I felt that was just clicking in right from beginning to end and beyond.
Yeah. And Dondi, it's really beautiful, your thing about the echo of the song also. Like I think it's in excerpts from Infinity, but there's a situation with Gyanananda where he had asked me to sing, and then the song finished and it went into silence. And then he's kind of took it and he said, "Can you hear it?" And everyone was like, "It's still going." It's just like, wow. It's completely somehow magical.
And for me, this echo is still there. Like as soon as I take a moment to close my eyes, I'm grounding back into that field. Like I touch back base into that space.
Mm-hmm. I think many people were touched a lot, actually, also by the physical space of it, right? The trees, and it's right by this wolf sanctuary. And a few days after the retreat was over, I was talking to one of the participants, and she was like, "I close my eyes, and I'm in that orchard." And I was just like, "Wow, there is something also to." I mean, it's the yogic ideal, a simple life in close connection to nature. And definitely the space and the nature was hugely supportive of, the whole transformational journey.
Sitting trees and willow trees to sit under, and gazebos for bhajans, and yogi shalas, and to go down to the sea and put wombs in the sand and play in the waves and feel the sun in our skins, and all of it. We played and we danced and sang, and we all the time engaged in this beautiful program, this retreat program that the two of you put together, and you crafted it and beautifully. And I really feel that the level of practice definitely helped facilitate a lot of seeing. There's a reason that, and this is what you brought, exquisitely.
I think there is no favorite. Every single moment, as everybody said already, every single favorite moment. And there are definitely things as we're sort of chatting where I'm going, oh, that, oh yes, that. I mean, lying underneath that willow tree on our backs, doing that collective oh, that was so powerful. Just the entire everything was vibrating, not just our bodies, everything around us. The ground, it was absolutely magical. I also remember one night going, and we went to go. You mentioned the wolf sanctuary, but we went up to the top deck, to go and listen to the wolves after dinner one night, and we all ended up doing this very spontaneous, gentle bhajan, sitting in the dark under the stars, and then just as we finished, there were the wolves. It was so cool. It was it's really amazing. Totally, everyone. Wow, that was something. Every single moment. Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more, Kirsten. The space in itself is, I think you brought a lot of you and what you two are, and that was another very big favorite part for me, was just meeting you, because I mean, it just, from knowing very little, it was extraordinary to be able to meet. And I don't think I've ever really met people like you who have just this light and this glow and this enormous love, and that was extraordinary, personally. But just in, how that whole space just kind of like conducted this, and it like facilitated, as Tandy mentioned, these little, unscheduled meetings and experiences and moments and things. Yeah. It's hard to express it, but it's gorgeous.
It's so beautiful, your expression. I feel like one of the things that we sometimes, it's so easy to forget in a weird way, is that grace can be very spontaneous and grace can be very playful. Like, somehow we all have the idea that it's a bit of a serious thing. And when you start to play with it, it's like, wow, no, magic is happening all over the place. It's happening up on the yoga deck. It's happening with the wolves. It's happening just in little pockets everywhere. And it's just unfolding. It's magic. And, we get to be there and watch it. What a gift.
I wanted to share that, as I was contemplating this question of like, what is my favorite, I took to writing, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna write about the car ride to the beach. And how we sang like these beloved children's songs in the car. And then I was like, oh no, I'm gonna write about laying under the willow tree and just having full body contact with Sangha, whether it was the Om rolling or it was a small group of folks before pranayama ahead of time. Or maybe it was like the moment where Tandi was actually calling me to come give a testimonial, but put her hands on me and answered a question, in that physical touch with the love and compassion that she brought, that helped me to break down some of my conditioning. Or like, I could come up with 100 of them. And so I like kind of scratched it out and I wrote one of my favorites. And I thought that would really help. It absolutely did not, because I still was like, here, 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 here. And like all of these moments, I really think like where the favorite thing was just the immersion completely in Sangha life for me. Like being able to just fully be present with everything that is and have this sacred container to challenge any conditioning that might be showing up that's not allowing me to be fully present without the distractions and the noise of the world outside. Like it was just this beautiful opportunity. And I think my favorite thing was seeing who we all are when all of that sheds, and like what's left. And that I would say is my favorite thing.
Wow.
So beautiful.
Haridas' sharing just reminds me of something from one of my teachers. One of my teachers used to say, don't believe your next thought. Who are you? it's like when the conditioning's gone, who are you? It's like you yourself are the light. You cannot be other than that. And so is everybody else. I mean, that's also one of the beautiful things about divinity. You starts here, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, it's not just here. It's it's everywhere. There's no place where it's not. Very cool, sure.
It is a tradition that whenever we gather with people, there will be a fire ceremony. That's just happening wherever we are.
Yogis love fire.
So it was, of course, also during this retreat, a part of the retreat, the fire ceremony, which was in a way a very, very dear part of meeting people and helping in birthing the life that wants to come through by marking the points that need to be left behind with the ceremony, with the fire ceremony. And this time it was the first time ever that we combined the fire ceremony with a naming ceremony, as two people received their spiritual names, and we had two people join the Sahaja family in a committed way to awakening and service to life. And it is a very powerful moment, a moment that cuts deep. And we wanted to hear your experiences of the ceremony. Benita is joining the first time fire ceremony. Tanvi joined the Sahaja family ceremony, and Haridas the naming ceremony. So basically, coincidentally, we're here in the full spectrum in this podcast. What was your guys' experience with the ceremony?
Yeah, you can go first if you want, Dante, or whoever. She's pointing. I think, Benita, that's you. I'm pointing the wrong way. Uh-oh. No voice somehow. There we go, maybe. No. Oh my gosh, Tommy, that's what happens when you put.
I'll go first then. I'll go first. Well, that bit me in the bum. How's that grace working out? Oh, I didn't want to go first with this one. How was it for me? Oh, well, I got to make some of the fire, and so for me, that was the most auspicious beginning to a fire ceremony, and I felt anointed just by that. Truly anointed. I, like Kayla, much of it was a surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect. And fire ceremonies are dear to my heart. Bevan and I and our family will gather around a fire and burn with intention. It's something that is just for me very beautiful. And when I knew that the fire ceremony was coming on our day of silence, I sat down and I was writing things that I would give into the fire and things to take with me. I arrived with my paper. I didn't know, you know. For me, there is such a beauty when we as yogis, but we as humans gather around a fire and gather in a sense of ritual. There is something in the intentionality of ritual that allows us to show up to ourselves and others in a different way that just makes it so strongly a shared experience. You know, I guess that's why we've been doing it for thousands of years, but it never loses its magic, right? I could have stayed there all night, and in fact, some of us stayed afterwards to tend the fire and sang bhajans because we were allowed to chant mantra in our silence, and that would be another one of my favorite moments. But Kirsten, no, I'm making light because I don't really know how to speak about something. You handed me my name, and I had no. It all happened before I even knew it was over, kind of thing. Before I even knew it had begun and knew it had ended. So for me, it stood outside of time. All I know is a piece of paper with my name on it left my hand, and I don't even think it touched the fire. It was gone. It had evaporated. It needed no prodding. It needed no cajoling. It was as if it had always been that way. And for me, in my heart of hearts, that is what I believe, is that stepping into the space with you and offering those aspects of myself, that it's always been that way and it will always be that way. It's an unspoken vow, and it is sealed by the presence of sacred ritual, and it was very joyful for me.
That's so. You've just made, in a sense, the perfect description of the experience of yoga. It's like timeless. It doesn't have any time. And not only is it timeless, it's what's always been. And that's why you can say yoga is smriti, yoga is memory. It's like you're just uncovering what's already there. And when you actually experience that, it just feels like that. It feels like I've always known this. I've always been this. But there's something so beautiful and so powerful about consciously entering into that memory. And I mean, this is a strange thing to share, but I was sharing with a group of people on the retreat, and I stand by it. In the past, even in my lifetime, I think, even in the beginning of my lifetime, if not just before that, 12 years in a monastery for that, not less. Like full life of dedication only to that. And now it's just like a week moving in grace, and there it is. And you've always been that. Like, it's it's becoming, it's my feeling, and it's hard to put words and expression into it, but it's my feeling that it's becoming easier for people to remember, actually. And why is it becoming easier for people to remember? Because we desperately need to start remembering. We're not doing that great on our scorecard as human beings. It's like, okay, we've got to rediscover what has been so magically and powerfully and beautifully shared on this call by all of you, which is that grace is present in every moment. We're living expressions of that grace. Like, I mean, after Tandi's incredible service at the retreat, I said, the light is dancing and Tandi is Tandi. It's just like, the divinity is dancing in everybody a little bit differently. And that's actually what makes it so beautiful. It's like everyone's light is the same and everyone's light is a little bit different. You cannot really understand that one from here. You have to move. You have to move down into the space. Thank you, Tandi. Very, very powerful. Benita, are you live?
Live. I think I needed to have that technical glitch so that we could have that sharing. That fire ceremony was a really marvelous thing to be a part of and to witness and to see. And I think I said this to Tandi after the retreat. I said, there was nothing unfamiliar. Nothing felt unfamiliar. It all felt so, I don't know, just a sense of familiarity and belonging and a sense of, I don't know, like it was, I mean, there was everything. I mean, everything in the fires. I mean, the way you all looked. Serena's dress was just so gorgeous. Just the arrival, the everything, everything that was said, everything that was shared, the way it was done was really, really, it was really special, and it's one of the things that I'm still, the feeling of us being held in that circle around that fire, building of the fire and the way that the fire just, it just literally took off, and how it just, just took flame and this huge fire, it was really, really quite something. And incredibly powerful. It was one of the big, moments for me of, when I threw what I wanted to offer up into the fire, and how the feeling of that I mentioned, that barrier, just it almost was it was almost like that sort of sealed it, that kind of marked it for me. Yeah, I loved it. It was really special.
Amazing, amazing. Now I'm feeling like Tandi in the song. I'm in the fire ceremony. Wait a minute, where am I?
Let's just sit in silence. We can all be quiet for a moment, all of us together, and we can just be right back there.
Magic. Maybe before Harya shares, I can share something, which is that there was 2 naming ceremonies during this retreat, and that was a very, very powerful, very beautiful part of the retreat. And I feel like naming, and especially spiritual names, maybe there's some misunderstanding in the common world about that. And in that way, it's maybe worth saying a few words about, which is that what we've already talked about on this call is like you're constantly recreating yourself. And Gandhi, I even think even was like, faster is better, just like, yogis, they want to move through all their karma. They don't want to stay too long in one place because they're evolving and they're expanding and they're growing and they're learning, and there's joy in that process of expansion. And at some point in that process of expansion, it can seem to you like your old life, it just doesn't fit anymore. And sometimes a naming ceremony is almost like a kind of rebirth. It's like an opportunity to just actually give form to what's happening with your life. It's like your life's been recreated, reformed by grace. And then it's like, wow, it's recreated itself so much that it needs a new start. It needs a new name. It needs a new opportunity for that to really express itself in the way that it's meant to express itself. And both for Haridas and also for Devi, that felt completely so right in my heart. And I don't know if I should let Haridas share first or if I should share first, but when the name came inside me, it was just like an explosion of energy. It was incredible. It was just like, I felt like I should, grab hold of the table or something. It's like, just like, whoa. And I feel grace provided that just as a recognition of the rightness. It's like there could be no question. It's just like, wow, this is not just right. It's like intensely, powerfully correct. And after that experience, there can't be any question mark behind that. But Haridas, maybe you can share something about the ceremony also. It's up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to go back just a little bit in time and say that when I first entered like a more formalized teacher-student relationship with you, um, we expressed that relationship as like a handshake with the soul. And we had said that like that for me and for you that is and for all that is really just a vow and a commitment to this sacred container of exploring the more deeper aspects of ourself. And I feel that the fire ceremony was exactly that for me. It was this like vow, this handshake with the soul. And, you know, going back a little bit more in the timeline, I had come to you, that doesn't exist, but I had come to you and I shared this at the retreat. I was a little trepidatious about asking for a spiritual name. Like I felt in my heart that things in my experiential phenomenal life were pointing me in that direction, but that my mind was like, why? Like what? Like why? Why is that necessary? Like, do I really need to do that? And but it kept coming and I felt like that's worth exploration, it's worth contemplation, and I sat with it. In fact, I sat with it privately for about a year prior to bringing it to you. and and I, when I did, I felt this extreme surge of energy that told me that this is God's timing and this is right timing. Get your mind out of the way of it and just do it. And I sent a message to Dave Deshji that expressed basically that and said, like, when it feels right, when you feel called, share a name with me that you feel by grace is coming. And that's what Haridas was. And the moment that Dave Das gave that name to me ahead of our retreat, it started this really powerful reset. It was a Maha reset by all definitions of resets. Like it was intensely powerful. And I really felt when it was given to me that it needed to be held in a sacred container for me to become something and for me to like embody that. And there was this pivotal moment after this great reset that was like, actually, no, like you are already that. And and you don't need to hold on to any conception of what that should look like or what you should be in order to embody that experience. And it was like literally that quick, like all the phenomenal places that I put the name Haridas. I was like, you know, in some ways, maybe a fake it till you make it, but also, but also, also fully living into like, you know, I didn't need to become anything. And I think also like to the present, the fire ceremony and what is alive right now, like when Dave Dust gave me that name, it felt this strong connection of family wound had been both exposed and healed, like in that moment. And not completely, right? There's always work to be done. But I just mean to say that it was like there was this Haridas is servant of God, Dave Das is servant of God, and like I have a name that is literally you, and you are literally me, and we are literally all of each other. And it became so phenomenally present for me to see and understand and recognize that in my own heart that brought this like moving through life that came with much more abundance of ease. And then for me, being in the ceremony was even there's other phenomenal symbolism there. I shared this with Kirsten actually, that, and actually probably I think Dandy and Benito were there, but I don't think you were, Dave Dust, so this will be new for you. But there was a Christmas actually in our family where we were all gifted pearl necklaces. And I had lost my pearl necklace, and I know that it's a condition of my current form and expression that sometimes I lose things. And so I had lost mine. And but for me, when this mala was placed around my neck, like it was literally like the pearl is a symbol of family to me. And it felt like very healing to have this redefinition of family. And actually, when you gave me the name Haridas on the piece to be put into the fire, I I actually first started to go immediately towards the fire. And I was like, okay, bye. You're gone. Totally gone. Into the light, let's go. And then I thought to take a moment and really sit with, what are my conceptions of family? What are my conditioning thoughts about what that term means? And what is Haridas to me, and to offer all of that into the light, whether it's my identity, the egotistical identity, or even like the name and the meaning itself, like all of it, just offer it all into the light and let that be a reminder day in and day out of this sacred handshake, this vow that we made, phenomenally at several points in our journeys together, but also that doesn't really have a beginning or an end and is just beyond, like just a constant reminder. And I have chosen to use Haridas in my life everywhere. And
Wow, that's amazing.
yes, and this week, actually, I feel this, it's coming to share this because it has a point. But this week, actually, I was talking with my supervisor, I had said to him something that it doesn't matter like what the specific event was, but his message to me was, yeah, that's because you're Haridas now. And
Wow.
it felt in my heart that that was exactly right, that like there's this past conditioning that I can see as just that, past conditioning. And I know that when it shows up, that it is something that is not serving the present moment, and that it is something that I can choose to bravely and vulnerably let go of and move and sit more presently in the moment to make discernment for that moment without letting the limitations of past define and confine my present choices. So that for me is what the fire ceremony is.
Haridas, amazing, amazing, so powerful. I shared on the retreat, and I just mentioned it because Haridas said both Haridas and I are dasas, Devdas and Haridas. And one of Gyanananda's like very strong, not so easily digestible statements was, there's two ways to come to the divine. You either come as a servant or you come as a beggar. And then he said, my way was as a beggar. It's just like, you look at that man, you would never, never think that word. But servant or beggar, it all comes down to what Haridas shared earlier, which is surrender. The grace is moving as Dev does. The grace is moving as Haridas. The grace is moving as Benita. The grace is moving as Tandi. The grace is moving as Kirsten. And each one of those reflections has its own individuality, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's the part that sometimes gets missed in differing spiritual approaches. But that each one of us is unique and also strangely unified is what makes the whole thing so beautiful. Haridas, when Haridas had sent me this message about the name, he had also told me this thing about the explosion of energy. And then I was like, let me just sit and meditate and see if I can. Okay, that's it. No question mark there. Oh, so beautiful. It's just like Tandi said, we're back in the fire ceremony.
Final question. What state after the retreat? Like what's present in your life? What came with you? What state?
I'd really like to answer this question by answering two questions. Because for many of us, it was the first time being with the two of you in physical form. And so I was lucky. I got to have you in the UK all to myself.
Which was
I'm kidding, not all to myself, I shared. But and I feel that this is just a really important thing to share actually to our community. And it was something that I experienced also in India. But I really do want to, because I don't think I can emphasize it enough. We see you on our screens, whether it's our Zoom time or whether it's us watching you teach us. And so we all individually feel that we have our own special, unique relationships with you. And speaking for myself, from this collective, which I know everyone will feel very strongly in our community, everyone is very strongly committed to that relationship that they have with you. And so from my point, I was there, and there's always the question of going, what will it be? What will it be? How does it translate in the 3D, in this food body when we see each other? What is it? And Devdasji, and I had this conversation with you once before. I feel like our relationships were germinated and conceived in the ether. When I think of this online world, that we can look at all the shadow, but when we're not looking at the shadow, we are in the ether. And I feel that that is such a great gift, actually, because I feel that we have come from the ether, not just with you, like, Benita, I've known in my life, Haridas, I've had contact with, but all in the ether, many there, no contact at all, but everyone in the ether, in the ether. And I feel like we have this unbelievable opportunity to come and we gather and we crystallize and we co-crystallize and we ground. And there's something so powerfully potent in that grounding, to see you, to be in that space. But then I feel like nothing is lost. I feel for me personally, it is so alive still. And part of it for me is undoubtedly because we met in the ether, we grounded, and now we just return to the ether. And I go, here we are. It's familiar. We are, and it's a reminder beyond this medium that this is what we always are, But there is such a gift for me in that process, to come from this subtle realm into the physical realm and be able to return to the subtle realm where we are being taught so many lessons, I feel, of yoga, actually. What remains is love. What remains is light. What remains is the part that was never born and will never die. And it is still alive. I hear our voices collectively. I feel our presence. And what remains is love.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Very many powerful elements inside that sharing. Well, what's coming to my heart is something that my teacher said that I found a little bit strange the first time he said it, which is that in a true relationship, if that relationship is a true relationship with your teacher, there must be one touch. And then he said it doesn't actually have to be physical, it can be in a dream too. But there has to be an actual contact, like, and you know, that just sort of struck me at the time. It's like, wow, these yogis, like, they're completely, totally beyond time and space. You know, they don't have any limitation at all. They can do things that normal people can't do, Maharaj, Gyananandaji included. Why would they need a touch? But I think Tandi just beautifully answered that question. It's like something comes into the space and then back out. And it's kind of like that's something that's very challenging to put words into, but you've expressed it beautifully. And you know, I go back to what I was sharing earlier, which is not just the grounding of us with you, the grounding of everyone with everyone. It's like it's the whole space, it's the people in the space. This is what I used to say all the time about kirtan, which it's challenging for people to understand. People think, okay, if there's 1,000 people at a kirtan, that's better than 10 people. No, not necessarily. It depends on who the 10 people are. If the 10 people are, you know, the right people, then just like Tanti said, that song is still alive. It's still singing. You know, it's.
May I, Devdasi?
Please.
It was still alive in my heart, and I don't know that I'll have an opportunity. I can do it privately, but I feel very much called to do it publicly. And it is still connected to this, because in this relationship of ourselves, in our learning and in your teaching, online and virtually, right? We have incredibly powerful experiences, right? Some people who are new to yoga, some people who have been doing yoga for their whole lives, but in the unfolding of the yoga journey on this path, there are moments that are potent, right? That are potent, that are tender, that can be scary, that can be a little bit sore, that can be that moment where, as you say, something's coming in so that it can, finally and then go, give you that last kiss. Sometimes it's a rough kiss. Whatever it is, right? There's this dynamic journey. And yet in the online space, in this space of immense beauty that I am so deeply grateful for, but in the ethereal space, in the space, we sit with ourselves, and there's that value as well, right? We sit with ourselves. But in Portugal, Kirsten held me in a moment of such tenderness in the physical body that I would never have the privilege to have in the ether. And that moment is carved in my heart. That moment is part of my journey with my teachers, with two of my teachers, and to have the privilege of being witnessed by a teacher and to step into the old way of being with the teacher, being taught, and to whatever unfolds and unravels, and sits and goes, what am I? To sit in the space of such vulnerability where everything is shifted, to be witnessed by your teacher and to be held, just to be held in patience and compassion and presence. This is invaluable. This is the grace of in the physical body.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
I felt also that this opportunity to actually meet in flesh in a way allowed the opportunity to much stronger become part of one another and to really become Sangha, to really hatch into a deep family connection.
I will say that that's exactly what I think has stayed with me. I felt also that the retreat was this incredibly beautiful, immersive experience into what it means to be a Sangha, to wake up alongside one another, to eat alongside one another, to laugh, to cry, to be held, to hold, like all of it, like this beautiful, immersive experience that is, beautifully slow and spacious and also nonstop. And
I love it.
and it just felt in my heart that like it was this melding of these relationships that quite literally transcend time because we're in the internet world, the world of the internet, but like and also the subtle realm of just being but like just having these relationships be for a moment like embodied and physical and connective in that way to have that lifeline that transcends and brings us back with us into the real world. Well, not maybe not the real world, but the world that is here because of the retreat. And I feel in my heart that like there's a contemplation that I've shared in our online Sangha community that I often sit with, which is who is speaking. And it's not often actually that's applied just to words, but it's also like it's to my thoughts or it's to like, someone else's thoughts or whatever might have you. And I feel that this retreat has sort of made that more congealed for me in a way that really is blossoming my spiritual growth. And by that I mean like if something's presently happening for me, I'm able to look at where am I looking at that from? Like, is it again from past conditioning or is it really truly from the present? And then if the answer is that it's not from the present moment, what can I let go of? And I think the retreat was a really practical, embodied space for me of that process of letting go and what it looked like for me and for everybody else that was there and in that realm of what does it look like when we do, like, and how can we be love, like, and really express love fully and without wondering what conditioning might be there that is tacking on to that. Just how can we be love? And that's really what I feel I'm taking with me, is this lifeline of how to be love in the world that is present around me, beyond and within retreat.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tandi's in celebration, full celebration. So am I. You know, I love your sharing as always, but somebody from the retreat spent, and you guys know the secret, but somebody from the retreat did a half day of fast. And she said during that fast, it was like she could see so clearly, like her mind was like, why are you doing this? Like, this is stupid. Like, you could be doing something else. And then when she was like sitting down here, it was like, actually, everything's fine. This isn't a big deal at all. And being able to discern like the voices. And then she said that that kind of situation came up for her after the retreat, where it was vitally important in her life that she have had that experience. Like to be able to discriminate who's speaking right now. Like, is this just, or, and I was so touched by that. I feel like, okay, if you walk away from the retreat with a sense of being able to listen on that level, that's a huge, like, that's a huge gift. Hmm.
I feel so honored to have had this experience in the flesh. I think, coming in and not knowing anybody, I'm not going to, that first day in our opening circle, when I quite quickly realized that I was one of, well, it was one other who hadn't done the 200 hours or the 300 hours. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I? Wow, okay.
Did I come to the right place?
Did I really be here? But how literally within, I don't know, within the first hour, being pulled into this family without, I would say, with completely unconditionally into this feeling of this love and this belonging and this, this enormous space of, I want to use the word privilege, because it really is, and it really, to be able to share and to witness this familiarity between. But I was like, wow, there's so much, people know each other here, and I don't know anybody, but everybody was also meeting for the first time, in the flesh, as Tandi said, and being able to come back here into my real world life, real world. And to be able to bring that sense of family and that sense of love, and I feel like I was retaught, or I learned how to love again in those few days together, and how that I've only been home just a few days, and how that is translated into my connections with people here, people that it's really been, I find myself going, wow, okay, that's so cool. It feels so good, and I have this enormous excitement about I don't know, this feeling inside. I'm so excited about just every minute of every moment of every day of just being and being able to share this and this experience and this feeling. It's just exploding. It's lovely. So it's being in the meeting in the flesh, meeting online, but it was just just an absolute, just so transformative. I can't even express the level of shift and change within me. Yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy actually that you expressed this last part of your sharing, because on the last day I had the privilege to meet Benita, and she was like, I'm so excited to go into the world and see where this takes me. And I just felt like that is so beautiful, actually. Like many times people are the opposite. They're afraid. They're like, oh my God, like, can I really go out like this? And Benita's just like, I'm going for it. And I was like, she's got the full spirit. She's shining so bright, and definitely such a privilege to have you in our magic circle of crazy people. I wish I could say it otherwise, but really the best craziness, unquestionably the best craziness in this world is the yogic craziness. What did all of you, every single one of you shared? I walk out of this with a different level of love than I walked into it with. It's like, wow, like, that's profoundly beautiful. And, that was one of the things that was just unforgettable about my own teacher. It's like, no matter how I came, no matter when I came, no matter where I came, his love was the same. And just seeing a living example of that, it's like, whoa, that is so powerful. Like, I used to come somewhat unannounced. Like, I would just kind of show up, and then I'd call him. I would call him before I showed up at his house. And I'd call him and say, this is Dave Doss, can I come tonight? And then I would come, and he would look at me and say, no appointments, no disappointments. But yeah, I feel like what we did at Moving in Grace, yogis have been doing for thousands of years. Like, we've been meeting under trees, talking about the same thing that we were talking about in Moving Grace, having fire ceremonies, having songs, practicing yoga, practicing pranayama. We've been doing the same thing. And just like Tondi said, it just never gets old. It's just, you feel privileged to be in the circle. Like, that's just how it is. Mm. Mm.
Thank you so much, all of you guys, for this conversation and processing of the retreat of Moving in Grace. Like, it was super beautiful to just click back into our connection, to just close the eyes and be there again. And also, thank you so much for sharing your insights so rawly, so directly, so tangibly, for other people who might be interested in what happened. And that's just like a beautiful service for all of those who couldn't come and who want to know more be closer in. And I feel that was a very, very intimate window into our togetherness in Portugal. Thank you so much for your openness, for your sharing, for your presence, for your spontaneity to hop in together for this. Thank you.
We love you, 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 we love you. If you want to hear your, we want to hear your voices. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful being here. Thank you. Thank you for calling an impromptu gathering.
Ah.
No,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
thank you, thank you. I love you all. Beautiful Sangha.
We love you. We love you more. We love you. We love you, Dave, Justin, Kirsten. We love you.
Thank you so much. It was so beautiful to see you all. Mwah.